Riot finally did it. They answered everyone's prayers, and it seems like my days as a Chamber 1 trick are over. In one of the biggest updates the game has ever seen, they finally addressed the Chamber problem. We're talking about some serious, potentially meta-altering nerfs here. Players at basically every level of the game have felt pain and suffering at the hands of Chamber, and some would even tell you that he ruined the game. So is it finally over? Is Chamber dead? Alright, so before we get into the video, I just want to let you guys know that we recently dropped a cream and black color touch grass hoodie. So if you want to check them out, then go to shop.thescore.com. So there's a lot to unpack with this week's update, but we've got to start with Chamber. Riot basically just f***ing massacred my boy. Headhunter now has increased bullet spread after the second bullet, so you can't spam body shots anymore.
It's not intentional. Okay, I'm actually pissed.
But I want to talk about Rendezvous because these changes are easily the biggest nerf to his kit. Rendezvous is now just a single anchor, but with a larger radius. You can still take aggressive peeks and TP away, but just remember that there's a good chance you'll actually get traded or run down by your opponents now. As someone who already had plenty of set places for both anchor points, this change felt the weirdest to me, and I'm definitely not the only one.
Sorry. Wait, what? Oh, that's how it works?
With this change, you pretty much have to rethink all your previous rendezvous spots, but luckily Riot removed the teleport height restriction, so you can still take advantage of any map elevation. There's also no longer an additional cooldown when recalling his anchor after teleporting, but if your opponents destroy it, then it's now gone for the remainder of the round. With these changes, it actually feels like you can trade your teammate if they die to a chamber. Even if he TPs, then he can't be that far away. And now that the fire rate on his ult has been decreased by 57.5%, you can't just keep re-peeking the same angle after every shot, or you'll die. So don't expect to see shit like this anymore.
Oh no! Absolute catastrophe as Ye finds perfect timing with a quarter force and annihilates the entire team.
The slow on his ult also only lasts 4 seconds now instead of 6, and the same goes for the slow on his trademark. And we gotta talk about trademark, because something weird happened with this update. It's almost like Chamber feels like an actual Sentinel now, and it's f***ing crazy because he's pretty much been a duelist since day one. Trademark now has an active range similar to Killjoy's alarm bot. When Chamber steps out of the range, it's disabled, and he can recall it mid-round without needing line of sight. This places a 30-second cooldown on the ability. After playing Chamber on the PBE last weekend and playing him more the past few days, I can confidently say that Riot has finally done it. He's no longer the must-pick agent that he's been since his release. And as someone who was a Chamber 1 trick throughout that entire time, I can tell you that this is a good thing. A lot of people would tell you that Chamber just sucked the fun out of the game. And with the buff to Killjoy's ult, I think it's fair to say that she's once again the best Sentinel agent. Since Breach Aftershock can no longer destroy her ultimate, KJ stonks are rising. I think Cypher probably deserves some more love, but hey, at least this is a step in the right direction. I suspect that all the teams who put their Jet players on Chamber for the past year will probably go back to their old ways and run Jet alongside Killjoy on most maps. And I know some of you aren't as invested in the pro scene as I am, but I can tell you right now that these Chamber nerfs will impact you whether you played him before or not.
Your elo is not safe right now, while there are a lot of Chamber 1 tricks that are trying to figure out how to actually play the game properly. So the Chamber 1 tricks that are actually just lost, then they're like picking Jet or they're picking off Chamber. It's going to be rough right now until they derank, because they're going to derank. A lot of them. So if you were a useless Chamber main like myself, then what do? Well, I think a lot of us will probably pivot towards Jet since she can still hold an op, but thankfully I do know how to play other agents. If you're willing to play Chamber like a Sentinel and sit back and lurk more, then you can probably get away with playing him on certain maps, but I'm not really into that. I want to go and take duels. But maybe it's time for some of you to learn to play something new anyways. Valorant's meta will likely see drastic changes over the next few months. Plenty of other agents have been tweaked in this update, and with nerfs to Viper and buffs to Harbor, even the controller meta might change, which I know some teams will be excited for.
We love Harbor. Our team was experimenting on Harbor. He was actually gonna be in one of our maps, but he's not allowed, so we were kind of bummed and we had to shuffle like 2 2 days before.
There was a lot packed into this update. In fact, so much that I don't have time to talk about everything, but there are a couple smaller things that I do want to cover. The Spectre has been nerfed from mid to long range, so the SMG meta seems to be leaning more towards the Stinger after its somewhat recent buff. Your teammate's utility will no longer destroy most of your abilities, but your opponent's definitely will. Pretty much every form of Molotov now destroys your opponent's utility. There's a pretty long list of abilities that this affects, so I recommend taking a look at the patch notes if you haven't already. But luckily, there's an easy way to test out almost everything in this update, and it's easily one of the best things Riot has added this year. At this point, I'm pretty bored of Spike Rush and Replication, and I've always wanted a shorter game mode that uses the same rule set as Unrated or Comp. And Swift Play is exactly that. There's still pistol rounds, there's only one spike to plant, there's a proper buy menu, and the first team to 5 rounds wins. I love Swift Play. As someone who hasn't really had a whole lot of free time lately because I just moved, this is just great. I don't have to commit to a full 40-minute match, but I can still get all of my weeklies done, no problem. I do wish that it was 1st to 7 instead of 1st to 5 because it's still similar length to Spike Rush, but this is a good start. It's only in beta right now, and that's expected to end on January 10th, so Riot wants us to let them know if we like it. Lastly, let's talk about the skins. Initially, I didn't really like them. I thought they were kind of boring, but after I actually took a look at them, I thought they were sick. The fact that every time you shoot a bullet, ice falls off your gun, I think is f***ing sick. I also just love the sound of the kill sounds. They're dope. Overall, I think they killed it with this update. Sure, there are some bugs that may have slipped through the cracks, but this patch is refreshing. I know the game was beginning to feel stale for a lot of people, including myself. And now that Chamber is pretty much dead, I think that everyone can enjoy the game again. There's a clip of me dying right there. I like popped a shot off and then like re-peeked and I was like, fucking tragic. I'm gonna get roasted in the comments, but it's okay. I think Cypher's still ass personally. He's honestly like a sick agent. He was so much fun to play and then like Killjoy and Chamber happened.